Cut a heathen up and carve a seat. But on Trap Thursday, I'm on that north with them bees. Waking up the sinners through an A from a D, that's a good report. We friends down year round, so many want to court. We teach laws, so we can ball Tony Stewart. No heathens grabbed it in this tree, this the inner court. Why? My real backing like a brat. Talking about these polypoles, if I'm with it, she gon' goes down. That brew pop, this that real shit. Give it how they want it, and I gotta keep it real. Hey, a trap God, praising the Most God. Call up Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. Wine, look, and I'm with it, I'ma ride or die. Right here on the Bible, left into the sky. And we gon' keep laws and commandments. You rollin' with a trap God, can you manage? These heathens hating on me like I'm a bandit. And waiting for Yahweh Shai to get the landing. Hey.
Alright, man, first and foremost, right? I want to say, call Lord Yahweh, Bashima Mashak Yahweh Shai, right? That's all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the God of Israel. And I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, not a so-called white man. Real name is Yahweh Shai, right? So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan, man. Right? The Most High God, He knows the poverty and tribulation the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and the American Indians are going through. But He also knows the blasphemy of the Ish people who say that they are us, right? And they are the synagogue of Satan, man. Right? And Rabbi Rosenberg, a rabbi, is about to expose themselves, right? This is Job 15:6. Thy own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yet thine own lips testify against thee, man. Right? That's the word of God, man. Right? This is Psalm 64:8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away, man. Right? And I'm about to expose the hypocrisy of America, right? Because no one is giving all this smoke and attention towards this rabbi, but to my brothers, Kanye, right? Ye and Kyrie Irving, man. Here's the video.
Descendants of the Israelites, but may not necessarily be from the 10 tribes, but will also play a role. And it shouldn't be overlooked. It's a very serious scenario. Is in Africa. Africa has perhaps hundreds of millions of people with this identity right now of being from the people of Israel. Does that mean they were from the 10 tribes? Likely not. We were taught by the historians and within our own traditions that when the Romans conquered Judea, a few hundred years after that the tribes of Israel went into exile, perhaps millions of Judeans were sold into slavery, into Africa, into Rome, deep into Africa. And if you look now, you're seeing people who are most likely the descendants of those slaves who kept true. I like to bring up a few specific examples because they're going to be game changers. One of them wrote letters to Israel when it became a state. And they said, we're Israelites out in Africa. You know, everyone laughed at them and they said, African Israelites, these people are just trying to jump on the first world country bandwagon. They're living in a third world country. They got nothing. We're coming to Israel. We got innovation, technology. So they're trying to get on this train because there's such a thing called the right of return. All descendants of the Jewish people from around the world are able to move to Israel. So they said we are also. And everyone kind of laughed at them, like I said. And a few people took it serious and went out there and started studying them, learned about their culture. And a professor from Duke University went out there and did DNA testing on them. And he showed not only did they share Semitic genes from people who were in Yemen and back to the Middle East, these gentlemen, a large percent of them, have the Y chromosome to be Kohanim, to be priests. Now, if anyone who doesn't know, a priest is a specific family clan of the nation of Israel who come from Aaron, the brother of Moses, who was the first priest. And anyone descended from Aaron has the status title priest. And we found that these men in this village in South Africa called Lemba, L-E-M-B-A, carry this genetic marker to let us know that they share the same as from the Sephardic and the Ashkenaz and And the population of the people in Israel today, they share the same exact DNA marker. That's mind-blowing. So everyone kind of got humbled a little bit, who laughed at them and said, now what? Now what do we do about this? This could have tremendous implications. Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them, also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the rules of the Torah without all the paganism that they've been practicing for hundreds of years. There's been books written about it from scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people. And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on. We know that some of the greatest sages of the transmission of the Torah were converts from Rome. You have a man named Onkelos who wrote a commentary on the Torah, unprecedented, that we still learn today. He was a convert. Some of the largest pillars on the transmission today were Roman converts. So here we are, we're Caucasian Jewish people, and now you have people in Africa saying that they're the real people of Israel. It can't be ruled out at all. We know they were sold into slavery. We know now that they're fulfilling prophecies by saying...
With over 100 million people worldwide identifying as being descendants of the ancient lost tribes of Israel, Rabbi Harry Rosenberg has launched a new educational platform, wokecourses.com, providing courses on this and many other very important and interesting topics. And we're very happy to be joined once again by Rabbi Harry from Jerusalem. Hello and welcome back, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much for having me back. It's a real honor to be here with you.
Well, thank you very much. Listen, you're doing such amazing work, and you know, the story just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper every time we approach this topic. And I wanted to kind of start, you know, we're talking a lot about the Lemba people today. If you could kind of put some light on the connection to the Lemba people specifically, you know, and the tribes of Israel, and, you know, possible genetic links that are shown through a Cohen bloodline.
First of all, the Lemba historically has always self-identified as being from the children of Israel. We could discuss which tribe they're going to come from in a second, but just they had reached out to Israel in the early inception of the state. And a lot of people thought that this was a tribe just trying to jump on the bandwagon, as we've discussed in the past, saying, oh, it's so convenient for you to be from the children of Israel now that we have our own state. But then, you know, researchers, they noticed that there's just a lot of things that the Lemba are doing, unlike other tribes around them, that really resembled the law of Moses and other customs, traditions of the Jewish people. So they sent a team of people down there to research them. And one of the people that went was Dr. David Goldstein from Duke, who was a professor. And they did DNA testing on them and showed that 10% or so of the tribe had the Cohen Y chromosome genetic marker, which would mean that these people have a population that comes from the descendants of Aaron, the brother of Moses, who was the first of the priestly class. So that was already shocking. And then when people looked into it a little more, they realized that they're building their houses and they're doing construction and funeral burials, etc., in the style of the Yemenite Jewry. And they were able to trace back and show from the Yemenite exile communities that these Lemba came here. So some people may think that they come from the lost tribes of Israel, quote unquote, the 10 northern tribes, but it would seem they would be there from the Judean exile.
You know, this idea, you know, even of the diaspora of the tribes in Israel, really not specifically coming from the northern kingdom, but potentially coming from the Judean, the tribe of Judah, correct? And especially, coming from Yemen, which was mainly Judeans as well, correct?
Yeah, for sure. And when you really look into it, you would notice that the 10 northern tribes, well, they call it the 10 northern tribes for a reason. The 10 tribes were in the northern half of Israel, and the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and a little bit of Shimon were on the southern side of Israel. So when you discuss going into exile, it would make sense that the Judeans would have direct access to going into Africa. And in fact, we see through historians like Josephus and other historical documents, even in the Tanakh, there were many different waves of Judeans actually going into Africa in different periods of time, over a 2,000-year period, even including in recent times from the Portuguese Inquisition.
Right.
So, yeah.
Because brothers and sisters in our community, despite the fact that they had their tongue stripped out their mouth, okay, despite the fact that they were forced to be illiterate, and then when they learned how to read, they was told what exactly to read. Despite that fact, we have brothers and sisters today that can actually read. And the brothers and sisters today that are calling themselves Hebrews, which I don't call myself a Hebrew, but the brothers and sisters today that call themselves Hebrews, they are not disillusioned. They are reading things in that book that is intimating that they are the chosen people. They are reading things in that book that is giving them the impression that you guys or somebody else are a cursed people. And now we sit here with you guys giving us the heal the world story, and I love it. It sounds great and it's amazing. The only problem is that's not coming out of those books that you guys are reading. Now, if you want to create a new doctrine, I love your doctrine. It sounds dope. I hope there's more of you guys around. You guys are some of the flyest people that I know. It's a cool doctrine. But there's something going on in that book. And I know my brothers in the community are not tripping. They are reading things about people being cursed. They're reading things about them being God's chosen children. They're reading things about who they can have sex with and who they cannot have sex with. They're reading things about the illegitimate Jews, or the false or the fake Hebrews, or the ones that are not God's seed, and how to deal with them. They are not making these things up. My brothers, who I don't oftentimes agree with about certain things, but I'm not going to sit here and act like the brothers in the community that say they are Hebrews just made all this shit up, and you guys got the real perspective, because then what was they reading this whole time? And don't tell me that they are disillusioned. Don't tell me they're not reading about chosen people and cursed seeds. But now you come here and no one's cursed. And it doesn't even make a reference to blood. There's no bloodline. There's no lineage. All of that is moot. It's null and void. We're all a human family. Hell no, it doesn't say that in that book. So this is a lie. This is where the problem is. So it's not so much that he's coming with a doctrine of peace and love. I don't have a problem with that. It's the fact that he says he's a Jew. It's the fact that he says he makes subscriptions to the Torah. And since he's saying that, the things that he's saying is contradicting the things that are going on within that book. Maybe you don't get this part. This is the part that you got to get. A great deal of the confusion coming in the community is coming out of the religious belief system that you guys subscribe to. Now you get on camera and you are totally oblivious to the sectarian aspect of it, the totalitarian aspect of it, the racial aspect of the doctrine, the cursing of the God, the putting one group of people over another people, and now you sit here and you smile in our faces. You actually are smiling. You are looking like you are in awe, or like you are flabbergasted, like where is this guy coming from and getting this information? We are not crazy. You got to keep it real.
I mean, first thing I got to correct you, because you said it's all about bloodline, and I like. You're African American, and you have to stick within yourselves. But that concept of you being African and me being white was taught to you by the European, I believe. I don't think 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, there was such a concept of race wars. I mean, there could have been class wars, but
Harry, I dare you to go on record and say you had no idea that the Jews financed slavery.
Oh, when you say the Jews, you can't speak on behalf of the Jews. You may say a few wealthy Jewish families who were considered sinners or evil financed the slave trade, or financed a few ships, or insured a few ships.
Have your people not reaped the benefits off of slavery?
Like I'm saying, I don't get any Jew gold sent to me every week, so I don't know what you're saying. I'm not benefiting. I work hard for my food, and my community works hard for their food. Yes, there are a few elite families, and you know what? Those families gave ties over to. I'm sure you know about the Freemasons. You subscribe to that, right? So there are Jewish people who may have left their alliance towards the rabbi of their community, the Torah of their community. So I asked my rabbi very clear. I said, what do we say about a Jewish man who financed a ship on a slave trade, or who insured a ship on a slave trade? What do we consider that man? And my rabbi said very simple, he's a Rasha, he's an evil man. You're not allowed to do that according to the law. So because a Jewish man sinned, even some of the kings of Israel were sinners, they were considered wicked men. But that doesn't mean the people of Israel were. Yes, my brother.
Let me tell you this. Here's the issue. Here's the issue. Okay? You have a ring right here. And a man that subscribed, not a man, let's not do it, it's not a Jew. Jews get over here and say, man, these are these black people's valuables. Let's take this. Right? And then they take it.
And parlay it into an empire.
They take it and they create abundance from what they took. Now, you're born in the interim of all of this going on, and you make children, and this thing still exists in you guys' possession. And now you believe in heal the world, throw flowers in the air, smell the aroma of peace and love, and never mind racism, never mind color, never mind complexion, while you still keep this shit in your possession. That's the problem we talking about. So if you love us so much, render back onto the people that which was taken. That's all we saying. If it's so real, because you don't receive no gold, and yes, you do. You have been receiving concessions from that which your ancestors have done for the longest. If you truly want to redeem yourself before the people, what y'all going to do is say, you know what? I can't live another day in this beautiful home. Right. I can't live another day on this beautiful land. Because I believe you're not the one living next to the toxic waste like the brothers that are living there next to some white folks. I believe you're wise enough not to live next to nothing like that. I believe that you should understand at this point in conversation that inevitably you are still reaping the benefits directly and indirectly from that which your ancestors have done. While we are also, the stress has been incurred perpetually from one generation to the next from that which has been done to us in light of your ancestors, though other people's ancestors have capitalized off our oppression as well. So if you love us so much like you say, and you are talking about a doctrine of karma, the question is, can the child's child still obtain that which has been stolen without being held accountable for it? While another people are here in their diaspora, suffering and displaced, only conceiving what life may have been like had these events not transpired. How then can you sit here and say, I'm not reaping none of the benefits? Of course you are. So instead of the love doctrine, it's very easy. You know, I can't live another day like this. Keep the house. I'm going to go in the hood. I'm going to start eating rice and wings. I'm going to start drinking the 50-cent soda. I can't do this no more. That's what we talking about. Keep it real, Harry. Keep it real.
It's going to get real. Yeah, I was just about to bring up that I didn't answer my question. I don't know if we're going to have time to get to it today because I got a flight. Okay, but I'm just going to say very quickly, fortunate for you, fortunate for everyone in the room, I am the Jew who felt your pain and said, how can I live in a house when I see what's happening next to us? And I am the Jew who has a plan, and I've taken actions, and I'm going to present it. And I think I can really, really address the issue. You said before, it's not about that. You don't want me to come up with a plan, but you want me to feel bad? Yeah, you kind of did say that. But
that's called reparations.
Right.
Anything you give back to black people.
So here we go. We're complaining about a bunch of Jews who created this game called Monopoly, and they got this thing called Monopoly money. But why would we give you reparations in the form of Monopoly money? Let's collectively break off the game, because I don't like this game either.
You're making a mistake.
You sure?
Yes, this is the mistake you're making. Let me show you.
Yeah.
It's very short. I said anything you give to black people from now to the rest of your life is reparations. That's what I'm telling you. Anything you give back is not a good deed, it's reparations. Anything you give back to black people is due. That's what I'm telling you. You give something to a black person today, it is due. It's no kudos, it's no pat on your back, it's no thank you for doing something nice to me. No, that's what I'm going to give another brother who gives me something. I'm going to say thank you, I appreciate that. But if you give me something, it is reparations. It is long overdue, and I'm waiting for you to give me more. That's how this works.
Well, first of all, my family was nowhere near the slave ports or the slave industry, my personal family. So when you say you're talking about me. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. Oh, no, and like I said, I'm not collecting any money from it. No, I work really hard, and I do double shift. I was working 3, 4, 5 jobs just to pay my bills and get food for my family. So I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and hear you telling me. Right. Like I'm saying, so forget monopoly money, because this whole fiat system not backed by gold isn't real, and I'm not trying to play that game. I'm going. No, I'm saving. No, I'm a relaxed guy, but I'm trying to say to you. Right. Yeah.
Everybody in here saying, "Oh man, he coming off a little weak." Hey Harry, you got to turn it up, bro. Harry got to do his style.
I'm trying to say, instead of weak.
Trying to rock you to sleep for like.
No, people are just want to hear something from me that they're not going to hear, because I'm not subscribing to the truths that you all been meditating on for a while. But I will say one thing. I have a plan, and I think it's going to be global, and you're going to hear about it soon.
I wish you the best.
Mark my words. Thank you, brother.
It's reparations.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, yeah, like I said, reparations not going to come in the form of real food, because right now we're eating poison, right? You go to the community. My community's got poison also. The supermarket's all poison. We got to get off that system. We got to get off the fiat system. We got to have decentralized systems. We got to have empowered communities. And this is not just me saying I got a vision, I got a dream. I have an actual plan. You and I may even run for president one day and enact that plan, but let's see what we're going to do. I would like to hear your answer, though, before we wrap this up on the God choice. And then I got to fly to Israel. I'm going back to the homeland, everyone.
That's right. Tell the homies living next to the toxic waste we said what's up.